So, the question for today. Okay, so this was also asked in the short answer section. It's a real sitter question. This was the second question in the section. Okay, it's a real sitter question if you really know the best method for it. If you don't, you probably will still be able to do it simply because it is simple, but you will end up doing at least 3 or 4 times the time that somebody else will take in the exam. Okay. So if you read the question properly, there is a person who's borrowing some parts of 4,000 at 4,000 for 4 years. Some part of it borrowed at 3% SI and some part of it borrowed at 4% SI. We need to basically figure out what amount he is borrowed at, A has borrowed at 3% per annum, given the interest at the end of the 4 years. So, it's a simple interest. So, the first thing that you need to know is that the simple interest never changes in SI, which means every year we end up paying the same amount as the interest simply because the principal also never changes. So, if after the 4 years total interest that the person has got, B gets rupees 520, they say. So, if 520 is the total interest B receives, after 4 years, 520 divided by 4 is the interest that B must have received year on year on year. Okay, so 130 rupees, 52 by 4 is 13. 130 rupees is the interest that A kept paying B after every year. Fine. So the first thing, okay, let's say you don't really know the best method. What is the bare minimum or the simplest possible method that you should be doing? Let's assume that the person borrows X rupees at 3% and Y rupees at 4%, which means what I'll do is I'll say X plus Y, the total is 4,000. Now, if you have borrowed X rupees at 3% simple interest, then on X rupees, I will be paying 3% of X, and on Y, I will be paying 4% of Y, and my total interest for 1 year, remember 1 year is going to be 130, 520 by 4, correct? So, after you form these two equations, you can solve them simultaneously, get the values of X and Y, and X is basically going to be your answer. Okay, the actual calculations, the formation of the equations, my pessimistic estimates are that this question is going to take at least 2.5 to 3 minutes for you to get done in the exam. But if you know the best possible way to do it, you should probably be done from this question in less than 30 seconds. Okay, if you're really quick with your calculations, if you are decently, quick with your calculations, I think you should be able to be done in 30 seconds or max 40 seconds on an upper side. Okay. How do we do that? What is that magic method? The magic method here that we are going to use in this particular question is something called as alligation. Okay, we're going to do it with alligation. Why should we do it with alligation, or how do we really understand whether alligation will be applicable here or not, or how should I know that I can do it using alligation? Is because one part is given as 3%, one part is given as 4%, and the overall is also given. This is a classic question of alligation. In my head, the question is screaming that please do solve me with alligations, not any other method. It's a very straightforward, typical, classic alligation question. So if you've done enough questions on alligations, you cannot miss this question. This question is not one of those tricky, difficult questions where it is, not very easy or straightforward to figure out whether it can be done with alligation or not. It is a very classic question of alligation. So even if you know the concept of alligation, that method should come to you even in that exam, even in that pressure situation. Okay. But anyway, so how do we do it with alligation? We know some part was borrowed at 3%. We know some part was borrowed at 4%. And what is the overall interest? Overall interest is 130 rupees. 130 rupees on 4,000 as the principal, right? So how much does that turn out to? It actually turns out to 130 upon 4,000. If I really want to convert into percentage, actually I should be able to do this orally only, but just in case if you're not really sure, this is into 100, so 2 more zeros, so it is nothing but 13 by 4. 13 by 4 13 divided by 4 is 3 point, and there is only 1, so it is 3.25, which means this middle value is 3.25. If I am able to do this much, if you take your pen only to write 13 by 4 and figure out 3.25, I am completely alright. Everything else is oral. See how. This is 4 and 3.5, this is 3 and 3.25. So this is going to be 0.75 and this is going to be 0.25. So it's a simple 3:1 ratio. And the total is also 4,000. So that also is not difficult. So that 4,000 is going to be divided into 3,000 and 1,000. Now we don't care what they have asked us, we could have answered for both. Okay, they have asked us A borrowed 3% per annum, then the 3% per annum borrowed amount is rupees 3,000. So that's it. It's a simple question, provided you know your concepts, provided you know your allegation. Otherwise, as we did those simultaneous equations, you will be able to do it using simultaneous equation also. Again, the numbers are not very difficult, so I don't think you're going to take a lot of time to crack it. But yes, you will take a lot more time vis-a-vis somebody using allegation. So you're going to lose your edge over everybody else. So do your concepts really well and realize that such kind of sitters also do come in the actual Indore paper. So yeah, I hope this video was helpful for you. All the best and do well.